Hey guys, this is my cast iron pan. It's been a little bit since I restored it. I think maybe 8 or 9 months. And the video I did on this generated a decent amount of comments and likes. So what I want to do is a follow-up video and let people know what's happened since I restored it, and let everybody know how the pan's holding up, how things are going. So what I want to do here is go ahead and cook some food so you can see firsthand what's going on, and then I'll go over what's happened since I restored it, and basically baked on I think 7 layers of seasoning, and then probably talk a little bit about comments I've gotten from viewers and things I've learned. I'm by no means a cast iron expert, but I've learned a little bit doing this through this process. And then I'll clean it up in the end. I'll show you how I clean it and how I store it. So let's get going. Let's cook some food. Should do it. Bacon and eggs is one of my favorite things to cook. Alright guys, before we get started here, if you haven't watched my first video on this pan, you should probably watch that so you understand what happened. But to make a long story short, I let the pan get too hot. This cooktop can really generate a lot of heat. It really burned the seasoning and burned everything right out of the center of it. It turned it to like a gray ash color. And then I attempted to restore it. I went ahead and sanded the surface down, tried to even it out, and then I baked on I think 7 layers of seasoning based on what I had seen people on YouTube do to season pans. So what I did after I restored it is I just started cooking with it. Bacon is one of the things I like to cook. And things were working out well. Basically, food wasn't sticking to it all that much, but to be honest, it was a little bit sticky. Food wasn't really sticking to it, but it wasn't necessarily sliding around the pan like I would like. And the eggs were a little difficult. So I thought it was working out really well. And I kind of babied it. I cleaned it up real nice. I didn't use metal utensils in it. You know, I was treating it like Teflon, basically. But then my wife started using this pan, and it worked out the same. It was pretty good. It was pretty easy to clean up. It was maybe a little sticky. She started using it, and then after that, it was getting a lot more use. She cooks a lot more than I do, and I started noticing the seasoning that I baked on was flaking off. So what I basically did is every time I cleaned the pan, I'd scrape the loose seasoning out. I figured eventually I'd have to go back through the process and re-season the pan, but we just kept cooking with it. And one day I went to clean the pan, and it was really bad. All the seasoning was flaking off. It was like black spray paint coming off in your hand, and I had to eventually take a metal scrubby and and scrub all the loose seasoning out of it. So I took one of these things to it and scrubbed it down. Strange thing then is we just continued to keep cooking with it. My wife would cook with it, I'd cook with it, and it really just got better as the seasoning flaked off. So you can see now all of the original seasoning that I baked onto it is pretty much gone. And we just kept cooking with it, and it just kept getting better. So right about now, it's almost like a Teflon pan. Really nothing sticking to it at all. You can see everything just slides around in it. Very easy. Not sticky like it was when I first tried to restore it. Not at all sticky. And all of that original black seasoning that I went to the trouble to bake on, that I thought I needed, I kept adding layers to it till it was like a mirror finish, a really smooth black mirrored finish. It's all gone now. So this is probably not the best test, but here we'll finish up the bacon. I'll throw some eggs on there, and then you'll really see how well this pan is doing. Well, while we're sitting here watching bacon cook, it might be a good time to hit the like button. I think watching bacon cook would just make people want to hit the like button. I don't know. Call me crazy. Alright, let's see how the eggs do. I always seem to leave the pan a little too hot. Hopefully it's cooled down enough. I really don't like runny yolks, so I always break the yolk. Yeah, that seems pretty good. One thing everybody needs to keep in mind is I'm really not much of a cook. I probably wouldn't make it if my wife didn't cook for me. Not the best looking eggs I've ever seen. And this is really what I wanted people to see was, I think I seen a YouTube video where a guy was talking about eggs sliding around in a cast iron skillet like hockey pucks. And for whatever reason, through accident or design, this pan has just turned out with really good qualities. I guess I'll probably be looking for comments, people to give me their experiences with it. But this is with absolutely all of the seasoning flaked off of it. Ooh, yeah, I'm not a very good cook, but I think you can get the point. Let's see if I can flip this one. Well, that was a little better. I think you can see the point I'm trying to make here is that I was able to get this pan back to a functional state, and even though it didn't work out exactly the way I had thought, it eventually got there. And I think the best advice that anybody is given, and I've heard it over and over again, is for a cast iron skillet, just keep cooking with it. Just cook with it, and it'll get better and better as it goes, as it ages, as the oils soak into the metal and cook into it. So anyway, the only thing I got left to do here is eat, and I'll come back later and I'll clean this up, and I'll show you guys what I do to clean and store this pan. Look at that, man. I don't think it gets any better than that. So I had a comment from a viewer, PJ Baker, who suggested that I get some grapeseed oil and put in a 1/4 inch of grapeseed oil and fry up some potato skins. And I had every intention of doing that. I even went and bought the grapeseed oil, but I never really felt the need to do anything more to condition this pan. But just the idea of cooking fried potatoes kind of made me hungry for fried potatoes the way Mom used to make them. So that's one of the things I have been doing. And a lot of times I'll get up just like I did and cook bacon and eggs to eat, and then I'll go ahead and cook up some fried potatoes to take in my lunch. And it does seem like since I started doing that, the pan went from good to better. So that's just a little tidbit of information. It came from one of my viewers. It's really not rocket science. It's just fried potatoes. So there may be something to the starch in the potatoes helping to condition the pan. I don't know. But while I got the pan hot with some bacon grease in it, I'm going to throw in some potatoes and some onions and put a lid on this and simmer it up. And have something to eat later on. Little salt. See if I can find a lid that fits that. Doesn't quite fit, but that should do the trick. So I usually cook these for, I don't know, well over an hour, maybe 2, on just low heat. Simmer them until they're soft. All right, real quick, I'll just go over how I clean it. It's very simple. I just throw some hot water in it. Food doesn't really stick to it, but if it did stick, I just use one of these little wooden spatulas with it's got a straight edge on it. I do have a scraper, plastic scraper for It's made by Lodge. It's for cleaning. I don't use it all that much. Usually just some hot water, and I'll go ahead and throw some soap in there. I don't have any problems throwing soap in it. That's just kind of breaks the grease down. Nothing really to it, simply because there's nothing really sticking to it. So some hot water and a little bit of soap, and if you're gonna scrub it out, I'll use one of these nylon things. We got a whole bunch of little scrubby things up here. I wouldn't scrub it down with metal or any kind of an SOS type of pad, but a little soap in one of these things, and that's about it. You can almost wipe it out with a clean rag and some hot water. Alright, after I'm done, I just dry it off with a paper towel. I bring it back over to the stove, and I'll usually just heat it up a little bit. And I don't know if the cameras can make out what the pan looks like, but try to get the right light. This light is seems to put a glare on everything. But there's just a little bit of the old seasoning still stuck in a few places, but for the most part it's all gone. So I'll dry it up and I'll heat it up just so the water dries off of it quicker. I don't want water sitting on it. So after it heats up a little bit, I'll go ahead and take some of this. This is just Lodge. I think this came from Walmart. It was a Christmas gift. Basically, it's a seasoning oil. It's nothing more than canola oil, really. But since I have it, I just spray a little oil on it and kind of spread it out. I use a paper towel. A paper towel itself will start to leave some residue on the pan if you work at it too much. But yeah, heat it up, oil it up a little bit, just a thin layer, and I just leave it that way for the next person to cook with it. That's it. Probably best to use a lint-free cloth. Occasionally we'll get some paper towel residue on there, and if I do, I just wipe it off with my hand. And that's the way I store it. It usually just sits on the stove here, because it's the main pan that we're using right now. So my wife will slide it to the back if she doesn't use it, if she uses something else. So the only thing I got left to talk about is a few things that people have brought up to me. Number one is I am using cast iron on this glass cooktop, and it would be very, very easy to break that. So I'm always careful with it. I hope my wife is careful. It's not something you'd want your 10-year-old to, who's helping you with the dishes, to put the cast iron pan back on the stove. It's just something to be aware of. It's a risk, I guess. Haven't had any trouble with that. So that's about it for this video. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm very, very happy with how this has turned out. I couldn't be happier. This is probably should be my last video on this pan. The next time you see it, I'm hoping is going to be over a fire camping somewhere. That's really why I even took an interest in this and bothered to start messing with it in the first place. So there it is. Leave me a comment, hit the like button, and I'll see you on the next video.